June 7th, 1998. One of the most heinous racial murders in the last 50 years in America would occur. The victim, James Byrd Jr., would have his body dumped outside an historically black cemetery. The body would be mangled and barely recognizable. 3 men would be arrested in the crime: Sean Berry, Lawrence Brewer, and John King. Brewer and King would be executed. Berry would be sentenced to life in prison. Prior to this crime, these men were all incarcerated in Texas prisons. All 3 were inmates at Beto 1. This is where they likely learned their violent ways. Racial agitation, mindless aggression, and confrontation are a way of life for prisoners. That's how one article described life at the prison. On this episode of Chasing Crime, we'll be taking a look at one of the most infamous Texas prisons, the George Beto Unit. Let's get into it. Beto Unit lies in the unincorporated East Texas community of Tennessee Colony in Anderson County, Texas, named after a group of settlers from, you guessed it, Tennessee. The closest city of size is Palestine, which is just over 10 miles to the east. Palestine still only has a population of around 18,000. Several other prisons are also located nearby, including the Michael Unit and the Cofield Unit. Currently, the prison has a capacity of 3,150, with another 320 inmates in a satellite camp. It has 472 employees, 270 of which are custody staff. The warden of the prison is Patrick Cooper. The prison sits on a whopping 20,528 acres. When the prison was constructed, the Texas prison population was skyrocketing. In April 1978, construction had begun on the $36 million facility, but not by a contractor selected by the state, but rather inmate labor from the Cofield Unit. Smaller contractors would be involved. More on that later. 400 to 500 inmates from the Cofield Unit helped to construct the Beto Unit. During this time, a critic of the construction said, "At a time when every major prison system in the country, in the world, is building small 400-man prisons, Texas is building units that would hold 4,000 men." In 1980, the first cell block would open at the Beto Unit. It would fully open in 1982. The facility is named after George Beto, who was the former director of the Texas Department of Corrections. Early on, it was discovered that some contractors were paying kickbacks to prison construction estimator officials. They overestimated the costs and then took it off the top, in exchange for awarding the work to the companies involved. The state attorney general, Jim Maddox, said of the injustice, "I think what is happening in the entire penitentiary system shows a breakdown in state government. Throughout its existence, Beto would be a place where Texas would house some of the most violent men in the system. It would earn the nickname the Gladiator Unit, after the violence that would occur. Several other Texas prisons would also earn the same tag. In 1986, a riot would break out and appeared to have been racial in nature. The disturbance started in the unit day room, and tear gas would be used to stop it. 16 inmates were injured during this incident. In one article alone from January 1988, several convictions from Beto were reported on. Billy Slayton was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon. He was sentenced to an additional 15 years in prison. Clarence Anderton was sentenced to 3 additional years for aggravated assault of a correctional officer. Lastly, Paul Alvarez Guerra pled guilty to unlawful carrying of a weapon and was sentenced to 2 additional years in prison. It was during this time that racial tensions among inmates were at a high. Men like Berry, Brewer, and King, all at Beto, had their racist thinking ingrained in them, resulting in the crime that would occur in the community outside of prison walls. Kerry Money was a man convicted in 1996 of murdering someone for their car. He would be sent to Beto to serve his life sentence. There he would join a racial gang and murder his cellmate, William Smith. The state of Texas would seek the death penalty, but Money would take his own life at the prison prior to the trial. In a letter to his lawyer, he would write, "I'm sorry about this. I know no one can understand. I can't even understand. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm so ashamed of everything I've done." Now that we've taken a look at some of the violent history at the prison, we'll move on to some recent issues. But first, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new content. In a strange occurrence at the prison, an inmate would burn to death. After staff noticed smoke coming from the cell, they responded and found Damian Bryant unresponsive. Staff says Bryant set the fire himself, and this was self-inflicted. There are still questions surrounding his death. Several news outlets were investigating similar deaths that were occurring across the system. In 2011, the longest-serving Texas inmate was paroled from the Beto unit. Harvey Stewart, age 83, was deemed no longer a threat to society. He was convicted in 1958 of murdering a man in Beaumont, Texas. Stewart served 60 straight years in the Texas prison system. When asked what he wanted first after his release, he said, "A good easygoing meal and a root beer." In 2014, a man would die of an asthma attack at Beto. The family of the deceased man would have their suspicions surrounding his death. This would become even more suspicious when inmates were writing the mother of the offender who passed to tell her what happened. The family sued TDCJ in 2016 due to his death. This was a short profile of the Beto unit in Texas. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. As always, see you next time.